Hello everyone, this is Aathmika Sivaraj, Assistant Professor, Department of Forensic Science, Kristu Jayanti College. The topic that we are going to discuss today is development of latent fingerprints. So we are going to discuss about how to develop fingerprints using powder methods and also iodine fuming method. So starting with what are latent prints? Latent prints are invisible impressions of the ridges which are present on our skin or our fingertips, which are left behind on the surfaces when the oil and sweat from the skin comes into contact with an object. They are called latent prints because they are not immediately visible to the naked eye and they require special techniques to make them visible. Moving on to powder methods. They are one of the most common techniques used to visualize latent prints. Each type of powder has special properties that make it suitable for certain types of surfaces and conditions. The most common types of powders which are used for developing fingerprints are black powder, white powder, aluminum powder and fluorescent powder. Black powder is used to develop fingerprints on light colored or white surfaces. The carbon particles which are present in the powder, they adhere to the oily residues of the latent print, making the print visible against the lighter background. The powder sticks to the residues due to electrostatic and physical interactions. It highlights the ridges and valleys of the fingerprints. The composition, black powder can be of two types. The first type is ferric oxide powder and then we have the manganese dioxide powder. The composition of both the powders are given. White powder, it is typically used on dark or colored surfaces. The white powder, it adheres to the oils and residues of the latent print just like the black powder and other powders, creating a contrast against the darker background. The contrast allows the latent print to be visualized more clearly. It sticks to the residues through physical adherence. The composition of the titanium oxide powder and shark titanium oxide powder, which are the two types of white powders, are given. Aluminum powder, it is very effective on both light and dark colored surfaces. It adheres well to the oil and sweat residues of the latent fingerprints. The metal particles are highly reflective and can highlight the ridges of the fingerprint due to their contrast with the background surface. The effectiveness of aluminum powder, it lies in its fine grain and reflective properties which enhance the visibility of the print. Now, it can be of two types, which is the chemist grey powder and lead carbonate powder, the composition of which is given below. Fluorescent powders, they are designed to emit light when exposed to ultraviolet radiation or other specific wavelengths of light. When applied to a latent print, these powders adhere to the residues in the print and emit a bright contrasting color under UV light. This makes the latent print stand out against various backgrounds, especially in low light conditions or on surfaces where other powders might be less effective. The fluorescence allows for enhanced visualization and photography of the prints. So, to effectively develop fingerprints using powder methods, the following conditions should be met. The surface should be suitable for the powder dusting and not itself attractive to the fingerprint powder. For example, if you try to develop fingerprints on a polythene powder using a specific powder, it adheres to the cover itself. The color of the fingerprint powder should be selected to give maximum contrast with the surface on which the latent print is deposited. The powder must adhere well to the deposits left by the friction skin ridges of finger or palm. The particle size of the powder should be fine enough to yield good, clear, rich patterns. Moving on to iodine fuming method. It is a technique used to visualize latent fingerprints by employing iodine vapors. So it works based on the principle of sublimation, wherein the iodine crystals transform from the solid state to gaseous state and react with the fingerprint residues, react with the fatty and oily residues left by the fingerprints, producing a visible print. This method is particularly useful for developing prints on porous and non-porous surfaces where other methods might be less effective. The basic principle behind iodine fuming method is that it works on The principle of sublimation, where iodine transitions directly from a solid to a gas state without passing through a liquid phase. When iodine vapors come into contact with the residues of a latent print, they form a temporary complex with the fatty acids and oils in the print. The complex creates a visible brownish or yellowish stain on the surface, making the latent print visible. Thank you.